Hello, I am Cisco Cepeda. My birthday is tomorrow, and I low-key feel as if I have to make the most of every single second before it's my birthday. So, to end off strong, I'm going to talk about what I like to talk about the most, but I never have any friends to talk to about it with, and that is movies. And these are all the movies I saw in the month of May of 2026. Now, these are all the movies I saw on DVD or Blu-ray or at the house, not including movies I saw in the theater. Starting off hard, number one, Abra los ojos, or for all my Native American friends, Open Your Eyes, which is the original film that Vanilla Sky is based off of, that Cameron Crowe and Tom Cruise made, which TC says is like his greatest movie of all time. And just to sum it all up, I really, really like this. This actually had a big influence on me. I honestly think it's better to watch Vanilla Sky and then Open Your Eyes because it just helps it make sense a little bit more. But this was sick. This really inspires me as an actor and a writer. Penelope Cruz was super hot in both of them, but she was pretty hot in this one too. And this one just had like such a unique way of making like these, I don't even know how to describe it, but like these New York vibe kind of subliminal parties or whatever, but also really a really good mind boggler that really makes you think about the real life. It's kind of like if you spent your whole life, people ask you that question, like what if your whole life was a dream and you just woke up tomorrow? That's basically what this movie's about. And if I were to compare it to Vanilla Sky, I would just say that this one is a little more clean, but I do really think Vanilla Sky is also pretty cool. I'm gonna rewatch it pretty soon, but I like this a whole lot. Okay, and the next movie I watched in May is James Dean's East of Eden. I really thought that it was. I've seen it before. I haven't seen it since 2020, and the main reason I watched it was because I'll just put these three together. So the next three movies I saw after Open Your Eyes was East of Eden, The Wild One, and Rebel Without a Cause. Now, I guess the main reason I watched it, one, it was really calling me. Two, I printed out the script for East of Eden, and I worked on the closing scene of it, which, funny enough, Elia Kazan cut it out of the movie, the scene that I performed, which is on this channel, the tips on how to cry or whatever, that's the closing scene from East of Eden, but Kazan cut it. So, like, in the movie, it has James Dean saying, like, the last lines of the whole monologue that I did. And for whatever reason, I don't know why Kazan cut it. Who knows? But I wanted to do it because, I'm at the age right now before the age that James Dean was when he died, 24. And I really just wanted to test myself as an actor. And on top of that, I also met an actor who I've really been inspired by, one of my heroes essentially. And I met him at a premiere. I ran into him in the bathroom, and I told him that one of my favorite movies of all time is the James Dean biopic. And I met James Franco, and we talked for a good while. Like, we had a whole bunch of interactions that night, and it was just super inspiring. And who doesn't want to be James Dean? And so saw and I really can't find any of James Franco's movie scripts on the internet to break down, but I could find James Dean's, like the real guy. And so I just went back to the main guys who inspired all the actors I look up to today, like I guess the two basic ones, James Dean and Marlon Brando. And I am reading Brando's I'm reading a study on him, and it's about how Brando influenced Hollywood in every way, and The Wild One is apparently his most influential film in his entire filmography. More than The Godfather, more than Streetcar, it's The Wild One. Like, James Dean saw The Wild One, and he wanted to be, he wanted to be the rebel. Elvis Presley saw The Wild One, and he literally based his whole persona off of Brando and The Wild One. And then everyone has, every singer since then has based everything they do off of Elvis, and damn near every single young actor has based everything they do off of James Dean, when they were both just trying to be Brando. And then I rewatched Rebel Without a Cause, which I remember watching, and I thought it was like so weird when I first saw it. But then on the rewatch, like 4 years later, I really was blown away by it. It was flabbergasting. It was incredible. It really is classic storytelling, and it plays on a couple of the cliches, but the honesty and the vulnerability and like just the way the movie is like romanticized, like in that world, it just looks so. I thought it was really really good upon a rewatch, and Jimmy, he's the man, and he really delivers in both of them, and in East of Eden and Rebel Without a Cause. Okay, what I will say about East of Eden is I think the second half is where it truly picks up, and Kazan really delivers this psychological mind thriller that he's kind of known for, like the same thing he did, in my opinion, with Streetcar Named Desire, and in East of Eden, he does the same thing where it becomes like almost a horror movie where it's really bleak what happens, but and all on top of that, there's almost this level of romance in the movie because, James Dean only ever did 3 movies, and just how magnetic he is in the movie. And it could simply be because, this is all that he was really known for, or is he really just that good, And I will say, there are 2 scenes in there that really just blew me away. The scene where he was trying to give his dad the money for the birthday, that was beyond me. Like the way he was connected to his body and contorting himself and truly just on edge and bleeding internally was just phenomenal. I was really inspired by it, and how there's a whole beat switch with his character, and then that's when Kazan makes it damn near a horror movie, and then by the end of it, I mean, I was really on the edge of my seat, and Rebel Without a Cause was a lot better than what I remembered it to be. It was classic storytelling in my opinion. Okay, so when I first saw Rebel, I thought it was kind of weird, but and I kind of just remember shitting on it, saying it was kind of discombobulated. But upon a rewatch 4 years later, I really liked it. I mean, once you get past all the quirkiness of like, he called me chicken, Dad, he called me chicken, which is literally what Back to the Future is joking about the whole time, and just like a couple like weird, goofy, wishy-washy movies or moments that really just came from the time, especially like this being like the first movie about high schoolers, so it really does play on a lot of the cliches, but and once you get past all that, it's really cool, and it's almost a noir, but the film is actually really bleak and sullen at its core, and it's almost haunting to watch because it is kind of like a better, more well-made film than something like River's Edge, in my opinion. And another reason why it's just as haunting is because watching it, you know that James Dean never saw it. Never. He already died. He only ever saw East of Eden, and I don't even think he went to the premiere, and like Marilyn Monroe and everyone was there. And but when he did Rebel, that made him part of iconography, and he never got to see it. So, which makes the movie even more haunting. And in both of them, East of Eden and Rebel, James Dean really just like contorts his whole body in this really motivated sense where he seems like he's really connected to his body, and like his face contorts and his body contorts, and none of it's being forced. Like it's all coming organically, especially because the fact that these movies are as legendary and revered as they are, you really can't look at him and ever say that it's a bad performance. But in Rebel Without a Cause, my favorite scene is when he comes home after the guy drives off the cliff, and it's really that iconic scene between his parents, which was really the first time they ever did that, and it really just I really thought it was a perfect blend of actor's medium and director's medium, and overall, it was a badass movie. Moving on. The next movie I rewatched was Raging Bull, which I thought was really good. You know, it's a classic, and I watched all the supplements, and I guess my biggest takeaway from it that I can remember off the top of the dome is Joe Pesci talking about De Niro's performance, and how De Niro he wouldn't necessarily improvise, but he would throw in a lot of new things to get different reactions out of Joe, and which is honestly like a really next tier level of directing or acting. And then also his performance on how it's infamously known that he put on all the weight, and people think the average person thinks he did that to win the Oscar, but he didn't. He sincerely did it to see what it feels like emotionally and on one's body from going to like a top tier physical athlete, a world champion, not just a regular person, a world champion, to extremely overweight. Was something that he wanted to experience. And after I've been reading the Brando study, basically that's all inspired off of Brando's movie The Men, which is his first movie where he plays a paralytic, and in that movie in real life he would crawl, like he wouldn't use his legs, and he would use a wheelchair in the whole duration of filming, and he really set a new standard for Hollywood, which De Niro took inspiration off of, but it is ultimately subjective. And I have also learned, Nicolas Cage was a big inspiration for me, and I was doing a study on a lot of his movies, and he said the movie he did, Birdie, which I do have right here, is when he was a young actor working his ass off, and he wanted to be Robert De Niro in this one, and he thought everyone had to do what Robert De Niro did in this movie, and that he would go to bed with bandages on because he gets his face blown off in the movie, and that's not a spoiler, it's like from the beginning of the movie, and he wears these bandages, and he said in real life he would go to bed with them on, he'd wake up with them on until his skin was like peeling and bleeding and full of rashes and getting dirty and all this stuff, and he had like these face bandages on, and he said that was a really tough experience, and he said that that's not the only way to do it. You know, you don't all have to be De Niro in Raging Bull or Brando in The Men. So yeah, but overall, it's classic, can't beat it. I really enjoyed it, and I probably might watch this movie like once a year. The next movie I watched was PTA's, Paul Thomas Anderson's freshman movie, Heart 8. I could definitely... Well, what's the craziest thing about it is that he was only 23 when he did it. How the hell does some kid get his hands on all that shit to make a movie? A lot of my friends like it. To be honest, I wasn't crazy about it, but I didn't hate it. I did think that there were some pretty funny moments. Like John C. Reilly was like, "Listen, dude, if you try to like force me to like do something sexual with you, man, I know 3 forms of martial arts: kung fu, aikido, and regular karate." And I was like, "Damn, that's making a star right there. Like that's a comedy star right there, just waiting to come out." And there was one giant set piece in the middle of it when they're like in a motel. That was pretty remarkable. If anything, this was a really good acting film. It really was very performance driven. It was more of an actor's medium, and it did like have a few signature PTA moments, but I could definitely tell he didn't know what he was doing entirely, and he was still a kid, and they don't really have any style. So the fact that he went from this to Boogie Nights is pretty remarkable. But if you were to compare this to something akin to Reservoir Dogs, it would literally, like, Reservoir Dogs just has so much style to it, and they're both, freshman pictures. But overall, it was cool. It was good. Okay, and then last month, I was coming off a Daniel Day-Lewis deep dive, so I watched In the Name of the Father this month. I honestly wasn't crazy about it. First half was better than the second half, in my opinion. I think it got kind of boring sometimes, but this also does coincide with what I learned about Brando. It also referenced not only Robert De Niro, so like Brando did The Men, and he was paralytic, and he lived like that. So he set a new standard for Hollywood, like De Niro, who put on all the weight, and Daniel Day-Lewis, who allegedly spent weeks in isolation and captivity for this role, which was, I mean, he always delivers, and it was cool. But I did do the deep dive to watch My Left Foot and compare that to Born on the 4th of July. And I gotta say, I'll save that topic for a different day. And then I watched, this month I did a Tony Scott Denzel deep dive, starting with Man on Fire, which is fucking remarkable. This was a dope movie. This was so badass. It was, like, I can really understand why Tony Scott is as legendary as he is, and I can't believe I've been sleeping on him this whole time. This movie was just had so much style to it. It was so cool. It was such a kick-ass movie. And, you know, I'm over here thinking that when I do Denzel deep dives, I gotta watch all the things he's been nominated for, all of his award-winning performances. When the thing is, he did this one as a part of, like, a tour collaboration, because he also did 5 other movies with Tony Scott. And at the New Beverly, they were doing a Tony Scott Denzel deep dive or marathon. And I also saw Crimson Tide and Deja Vu on a double feature. And I met the writer of Deja Vu. His name was Bill. And Crimson Tide was sick. That was just like a classic 90s action movie, and Tarantino apparently did a polish on the movie, which is why there are all these cool references to like the Silver Surfer or Star Trek. And the other movies I saw at the theater were Obsession and Top Gun Maverick. I saw Obsession twice. I really don't think I need to talk about it, but it was dope. I really liked it. It really delivered everything that a movie should deliver. And Top Gun Maverick is freaking legendary. I saw it when it came out, but I saw it on the re-release last month, and I mean, that is an action movie that goes beyond, you know, regular action movies. The fact that it's all practical, and the fact that, you know, it doesn't have to be like Star Wars or Marvel and DC, which is cool. I mean, I still love that stuff, but it was pretty remarkable. And I also saw Mysterious Skin with Greg. I'll keep on Greg Arrakis, Arakin, Akira, Akari. Oh, shit, Arakin, Greg Araki. I think that's how you say his name. I saw him in person at the Egyptian Theater, and I really did think Mysterious Skin, I saw twice, was a crazy movie to watch and interesting to watch at the same time. And it's a good thing movies like that exist to tell that story. But besides all that, it's really created in such this dreamy, wholesome tone that kind of neutralizes how bleak and ugly this story really is. But overall, it's awesome. I really thought it was a good movie, and there's a lot to dissect in that movie, and I liked it. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see, those are all the movies I saw in the month of May 2026. I saw a couple documentaries. I saw all the special features for both James Dean's movies. There's this one that I really like called Forever James Dean. That one was sick. And yeah, thanks for watching. Okay, I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.